I was walking back from class. It was, I believe, a spring day of my sophomore year. And I walked by the student center at William & Mary, where I'm a student. And I saw my roommate at the time tabled outside of the student center. And he called me over and he asked me to partake in a bone marrow drive. So I tried to tell him I was busy. I knew nothing about it, but he told me that there was free pizza inside for anyone who was doing it. So thinking I'd get lunch out of it and just, hightail out of there and get back to my room, I figured it'd be worth it. So I went into the student center where there was a whole bunch of tables set up upstairs, people working this event. To be honest, I wasn't particularly interested in finding out much about it. Just wanted to get out of there, get my pizza, get on my way. So basically went over to a table where one of the people got out a couple of cotton swabs and took samples from the inside of my mouth. It was a very simple process. They were friendly, it went quickly. I did get my pizza, and I got out of there. Again, knowing absolutely nothing about the process, and certainly not thinking that I would ever be contacted by them concerning the registry that I had apparently just signed up for. It was probably only about 2 or 3 months later. I was in class, checking my email, and I see an email from the National Bone Marrow Registry saying that I was a potential match for someone. And my first reaction was just shock, because it's one of these things, you do it and you think your chances are like winning the lottery. So the email says you're a potential match, but more testing needs to be done to figure that out for sure. So there's a lot going through my head at that point. I don't remember it well. I just remember being shocked. And I remember wanting to get out of class so I could get more information and just figure out what was going on. So I did, and I looked into the process, and it was a little bit intimidating in terms of requiring surgery, but it was just something at that point that I decided to go forward with, not having to commit to it, but at least to see, at least to take the next step and see whether I was in fact a match. So a couple weeks later, I went down to Newport News to have some blood drawn, and it must have been several weeks after that they contacted me again and confirmed that I was in fact a match, and that they wanted me to have surgery to donate bone marrow to a 17-year-old girl. They didn't give me any details other than that she was a 17-year-old girl. I had no idea what her name was or even what country she was in. But that was probably the thing that made me decide that I was going to do it, because obviously if you have the opportunity to save the life of someone that age especially, you just can't say no. So this was late in spring, and they set my surgery for early summer. It ended up being postponed once, actually, because the girl relapsed, and the person who receives the bone marrow actually needs to be healthy at the time they receive it. So my second date was set for July 8th. Before then, I received a battery of tests at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. It's the hospital where I was born. It's the hospital where I had my surgery eventually. And all of these tests confirmed that I was healthy and prepared to give the surgery. So the night before the surgery, stayed at the hospital. It was nerve-wracking because I never had surgery before. I didn't really know what the surgery entailed. I wasn't exactly curious to find out, because I'm sure I wouldn't like to know. But after a stressful night and getting up early, They got me into surgery, and I have to say the experience wasn't that bad. They reassure you, you understand you're in good hands, and when you're under full anesthesia, as I was, it's just not so bad. So when I finally woke up from my surgery, felt pretty good overall. I didn't experience some of the other symptoms that apparently other people do. I mean, I felt, groggy, but otherwise healthy. And for that reason, they let me go from the hospital that same day, even though a lot of patients do stay overnight. So the recovery wasn't too bad. It was back to almost normal in just about a week. In that week, there was some soreness, a little trouble walking, but certainly better than you'd expect when you find out that surgery is basically them digging into your hip bone. In fact, I remember when I woke up, the doctor told me that my hip bone looked like Swiss cheese. So yeah, certainly easier recovery than one would expect from that. But that was the surgery. Again, very simple and something I'd be willing to do again. So after that, I didn't really think too much of it, I suppose. I mean, it was out of my hands at that point. Went to study abroad the spring after my surgery, the spring of my junior year, and so busy there that it really just honestly wasn't on my mind. Came home, and one night I was watching the news, and there was a documentary about a bone marrow recipient, and my dad saw that I took interest in the story, and he came over to me, and he informed me that he had learned that the recipient had passed. So it came as a shock. It upsets me. It still does. But overall it was, I'm glad I did it because I did the most I could, and certainly I would encourage anyone who has the opportunity to donate bone marrow to do it, because it's a worthwhile cause, and you do have the opportunity to save a life, even if it doesn't always turn out as you expect. I had to go to the hospital a couple of times to test that your heart is healthy and all this stuff. The worst part was when they had to take an autologous blood unit, which is blood that's taken should you require blood in the surgery. So they take about, a liter or two, and they stuck a huge needle into my arm without warning me about it, which I was thankful for. So that was really the worst part. But overall, in terms of the process leading up to the surgery, it was a little bit time consuming. And in some ways that was actually worse than the surgery itself, just because I was busy. But not too bad. I would encourage anyone to sign up for the registry if you haven't yet. Yeah, again, I never thought I'd be chosen, and I was. And as I said, even if it didn't turn out the way you expect, you have a chance to save someone's life, and that's amazing.